Well, today I have Lorraine Walker, Celebrant and Solemniser, in the studio. Lorraine, you are so welcome to Wedding Tip Wednesday. How are you?
Thank you, Jenny. I'm absolutely brilliant. I'm absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, it's a little while since I've seen you.
Yeah. But listen, we're here anyway.
So we're here
rock.
now to educate everybody about celebrants, solemnisers, humanists, what you need to get married, everything you need to know.
Everything.
Yes.
I am the font of knowledge.
Yes, you are. Absolutely. So first of all, tell me, how did you get into this game, into this wedding industry?
Well, I've always been able to, I could talk about weddings for hours. You know, I really, really could. And I've always been interested in weddings. And I love how do you choose your dress, where, your venue, your bridesmaids' colours and all of it. I've always
been into
loved
weddings.
that.
Yeah.
And I was at a wedding there about 5 or 6 years ago in McCarthy's house, and my cousin was getting married, and I was there with my sister and my dad, and I can't remember where my husband was, but he wasn't there anyway, because the two of us were talking like that. What do you think? What do you think of her? You know the way.
I don't ever do that.
No, I know. Usually I don't. It was all my sister's fault. And anyway, there was a solemniser there. There was a celebrant there, and I was sitting and I was looking at her and I was thinking, do you know what? I could do that.
Yeah.
And I was being very critical, and I was saying, well, she could say no more now about the couple, and she could be doing this and doing that. And my sister was saying, shut up. And I was saying, no, really, what do you think?
Yeah.
And I said, do you know what? I could do that. She said, well, then shut up and go and do it.
And do it. Go and do it.
And my work circumstances changed, as I was telling you earlier. I was working with Sinead Sanderson that you had in.
Yes.
Fabulous girl.
I love her.
Absolutely fabulous product.
Good. Don't say anything bad about her, because she's my bestie.
Listen. She's just a sweetheart.
Yeah.
And I was working for her, and I left, and I said, right, I have a few bob. Now, as I was saying to you earlier, I could put it into Tesco, the way you do. Or I could put it into further my education.
Yeah.
So I did.
Good.
So I did a course, and I became...
How long did the course take?
I did a kind of a quick... You could do it over 6 months, or you could do it over a month.
Okay.
Very quickly.
Right.
So I did that. And I made some lovely, lovely friends, and they were all kind of like-minded and all around my own age. They were all my age, a little bit younger, a little bit older. And we just had great crack. We really, really did.
Yeah.
But I wasn't solemnised.
Right.
And the difference being...
What does that mean?
Right, I know. Anybody can do a wedding ceremony.
Right.
And, in America you think, oh, Joey from Friends got, registered on the internet and all this. Anybody can do the actual wedding ceremony, but you have to be solemnised in order for it to be legal.
Okay.
So that was actually quite difficult. I found that very difficult, because I was coming up against brick walls the whole time. Because when you're asking somebody, it's like me asking you, Jenny, I want to be a photographer. I want to be a wedding photographer.
Yeah.
And in as much as you'd say, well, okay, there's enough work for everybody, and it's up to you whether you give me the information about how to actually go about doing that.
Yes.
And an awful lot of people are not that generous.
Oh, I know.
Yeah. And
I could actually write a book, another one.
Another book, Jenny.
Another book. My book is coming out soon. I remember, and just to get back I'll get back to what you were saying in a second. When I was getting into the industry, 20 years ago, when I was asking photographers for information, not that I wanted to steal their job, they wouldn't give you any information.
No.
And I would tell anybody anything they need to know about photography. So yeah. Anyway, so I know exactly what you mean.
Happened to me because I was with a great group of people.
Yeah.
And none of us were solemnised. And so there's only so much you can do, put yourself out there to marry people. But now, like in the dim and distant days where there was no same-sex marriage.
Yes.
A lot of same-sex marriage couples wanted to get married, wanted to have their big day.
Yes.
And that's when a celebrant could celebrate that with them. Because it wasn't legal.
Okay.
Now, thank goodness, we're out, of the dark ages.
Time.
And same-sex couples can get married legally. And that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And now they want that. And of course they want that.
Yes, of course they do.
Of course they do.
Yeah.
And then there's an awful lot of people have moved away from the church, and they want their wedding. They want it legal. They don't want to have it in the HSE office.
No.
So they want it in their venue, which is really popular now.
Yes.
And so that's where I come in, that I can marry them legally in their
So
venue.
how did you become then solemnised?
It was I found it very hard because I had to find somebody. It has to be a charity.
Right. What has to be a charity?
The foundation that you're with.
Right.
It can't be, say, a business.
Okay.
So I came across Earth Spirituals Foundation, which are based in Cork by a fabulous woman called Sharon Quigley. She is Australian, and she came over here and set up this foundation.
Okay.
And so I contacted her. I said, and she was the only one who gave me sort of any information. I contacted everybody.
Yes.
Even other celebrants. And they were kind of saying, well, I don't really know.
Oh,
I don't really know.
Get over yourself.
I said, yes, you bloody do.
Yeah.
So anyway, Sharon was wonderful, and she came back with loads of information.
Yes.
But she's a very busy woman. So it took us a while to kind of get going, in the sense that, like she was saying, yes, we will be taking on celebrants to solemnize, but it won't be till November. And this is like January. I wanted it now. I wanted it done now.
But what did you have to do, though, to become solemnized?
Well, you have to be registered with the HSE.
Okay.
And in order to be registered with the HSE, you have to be with a foundation, like a charity.
Right.
So I had to do a course with her.
Yeah.
And go down to Cork. And there was interview process. There was a couple of interview process, and long chats, and is this really what you want, and this is what we do, are you up for that, and that type of thing. And over a period of about a year and a half, I think it took.
Right.
And then she said, yeah, I want you on board, and I'm going to register you.
Perfect.
So I was registered with the HSE, and once I was registered with the HSE, I got a letter from them saying, yes, I am solemnized.
Brilliant.
And I can marry you legally.
So that's what you are.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me, what is the difference then between a solemnizer, I'm saying that right, and humanist? What is the difference?
Well, most humanists, I think probably all humanists, are probably solemnizers now. But because they were the first ones to have non-priests, we'll say.
Yes.
Or to have marry you outside the church.
Yeah.
An awful lot of people don't realise there are other options.
Right.
A humanist, a wonderful group of people, they don't have any religion or spiritual things in their ceremony.
Okay.
And I've been to humanist weddings, and they're lovely.
Yes.
But if you wanted, say, for example, the Ave Maria sang,
right,
you can't have that.
Okay.
But
you'll allow it.
I'll allow it because I'm a spiritualist.
Right. Okay.
If somebody wanted, like, if Auntie Mary didn't believe you were really married unless you were getting married in church, and it was, she'd be delighted if somebody got up and said a prayer.
Yes.
I'll allow that.
That's allowed, but it's not allowed with a humanist.
Not allowed with a humanist.
Right. Okay.
So that's the difference.
Okay.
And there are lots of us about, there are more than the humanists, is what I'm saying.
So listen, I mean, I do a lot of weddings.
Yeah, I know.
And I do a lot of, humanist weddings, and lots and lots of weddings. And I think celebrants are great. I call them all celebrants.
Yeah.
And sometimes they make it about them. Like, no, I'm not saying all of them, but Jesus. There's one particular person, and I've heard the same story about the couple, except the names are different. And I'm like, are you actually joking? Is that the rule, that you have to say the same thing to every couple? Or is that just a lazy thing?
Well,
I'm very honest, and I just say it as it is. It is a lazy thing. It is a lazy thing. Okay.
What you're encouraged to do is the wedding ceremony that I would write for you would be about you,
yes,
about your love story, about how both of you met.
Yes.
How did you come about deciding you wanted to get married?
Yeah.
What is it that you see in each other?
Yeah.
What do you want for the future?
Right.
What is it that makes you sparkle and shine?
So you'd sit down
person?
and write all that out, and then come up with it and read it out on the day.
Well, what I do is I would have a meeting with a couple.
Yes.
So the couple contact me and they say, are you available on the 5th of July? Whatever.
Yeah.
Right. And I would say yes, no, whatever. Well, we'll say yes. Okay. And then this is all by, say, email.
Yeah.
And send them back and say, I can write you a totally bespoke ceremony.
Right.
So the bespoke meaning completely and utterly yours.
Yes.
So I would meet them. We either do a Zoom or we can meet in person. And we have a chat and we talk about the couple now, not just one person. And we talk about how they met and, their family. Do they have kids?
Yes.
And all about them. And mostly the bride would be very chatty.
Yes.
And she'd say, oh yeah, and then, but eventually the groom or the other bride would, start chatting.
Yeah.
And they would, let's tell funny stories about each other, or they'd be teasing each other, and you just see that eye connection, or these little things you pick up on, like she'd kind of tip him and leave her hand there and that type of thing. Like it's lovely to see the connection that they're actually talking about each other and themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think a lot of the times people they're not inclined to do that or remember things and say, oh yeah, do you remember, and this is how we got together, and oh, I sent you a text. No, you didn't. That type of thing. I sent you a text. Yeah. So, and then they might, or they may not have funny stories, and sometimes they're very sad stories.
Yes,
and if there's kiddies involved as well, they'd be chatting about that. And we talk about how we can involve their children if they want their children involved, or how they can involve their family and friends.
Okay.
So there's lots of different ways of doing that. But basically, I would tell their love stories, what I would put it as their love story. And I would tell them how the running of the wedding would go.
Right.
And I would send that to them by email. And they would say, yeah, I like that. Or no, oh God, we're not putting that in. Or, whatever, whatever they like. 9 times out of 10, they say, well, you got that date wrong. Or, that's not who it was. And it's like, it's only 2 or 3 drafts.
Yeah.
Mostly it's just 2. But they can go as many drafts as they like.
Okay.
Backwards and forwards.
So they read this before.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're not going to surprise them on the day.
There's no shocks. No.
Could you imagine? Got something wrong.
Well, now, sometimes, I have a friend of mine who does who's a celebrant, and he doesn't tell them the love story because he wants it to be...
Okay.
Obviously it's nothing. They're not going to be... He's not going to embarrass them.
I know, yeah.
But I do like to run it by them to say, is that all right? Because you try and make it funny and you try and make it romantic and,
Yeah.
It's a nice thing.
I think that's a good idea.
Anybody.
Just in case.
Just in case.
Yeah, just in case it's something they don't want.
They'll say yes or no, whatever, and it goes backwards and forwards. And then on the day, I have my wedding printed out, and I have it there. And sometimes you go off script a little bit, but mostly you stay on your script, and they know what's coming and they know what to do next.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about the ceremony itself, and things that annoy me. All right.
I know what annoys you, Jenny.
What annoys me?
The phones out in the middle of the aisle.
Put them away. Put the phones away, lads. Okay, so let's talk about that for a second.
Okay.
I wasn't even going to say that, but thank you.
Yeah.
When the bride or the groom, whoever's walking up the aisle, and your partner's at the top waiting for you to walk up. And what I love to do, and it is absolutely beautiful, and I love to make sure that there's nobody in the aisle except whoever's walking up the aisle.
That's the way it should be, really.
Which is the bridesmaids. I always talk to them beforehand and sort of say, this is how you walk up. This is how much space you leave in between each other, because I want to get in each of you individually walking up the aisle, and then, go into your seat there. And I want to photograph the bride and her dad or whoever is walking up. And then they all take the bloody phones out. And all you can see, well, I can't see the screens because they're facing down the way, but that's all the bride is looking at walking up the aisle. And do they ever use those photos again? No.
Never.
Because they just want to be in the moment and they want to get the phone out. So put the phones away. Yeah. So that doesn't annoy me. Just another thing that annoys me, and I know that sometimes, a celebrant, a solemniser, a humanist, a priest, they do it sometimes because they think that looks good, where they'll put the couple to the side of the altar instead of putting them into the middle of the altar. I love it when the couple are sitting in the middle with their backs to everybody, because from a photographic point of view, it works so much better, because a lot of the time you could have musicians behind them, you could have a speaker sticking up out of their head, you can't see them. It's just really annoying. And and when I see it, it puts me into bad mood.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, and then I might say it, to the celebrant, and they're like, well, that's the way I want it. And I'm like, you're not even thinking of their photos afterwards. Like there's a wall behind them. There's, it's just, they're not nice photos. So that absolutely irks me every time. That really annoys me. So just so you know, Lorraine.
Thanks for that.
Yeah. I know you for that. And if any of the celebrant is looking, honestly,
that's actually quite encouraged to have the bride and groom at the side, because it's kind of, one of the reasons is they don't have their back to their family.
Yeah.
And the other reason is they can kind of see
they don't want to though, Lorraine. Anytime I speak to them,
okay, then
they don't want to, because they'll see them on the way back down the aisle. I would talk to brides a lot, and they are so self-conscious. They've just walked up the aisle, their heart is in their mouth, and they don't want to be looking down the aisle.
Okay.
So that's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Anyone I've ever spoken to. So just so you know,
Okay.
And from a photography, actually, it happened in a church recently in Enniskerry, and there was a lot of money put into this wedding. And it was a really, really fancy wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And the priest decided that when you look up the aisle, he put them over to the right. So you had this singer who was right behind them, and she had a ring light.
Oh, for God's sake.
Well, she was recording herself singing, for her own promotional videos or whatever. And that's all I'm getting. I'm getting my bride and groom and a ring light and the singer. And I'm just thinking, your photos are ruined. Yeah. And there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So that just annoys me.
Okay, I'll tell you, I'll put that in the back of my mind.
Ooh, I need to calm down now. How long is the ceremony?
By Jenny and Lorraine.
How long is the ceremony, Lorraine? Do they vary?
Yeah. I had a couple come over from Manchester, a massive wedding, and she said they had gotten married before. They'd gotten married her dad was actually dying, and they'd gotten married in the hospital. And thank goodness he rallied, got better. All he wanted to do was walk her up the aisle. So they had a wedding, and she said 10 minutes. You're getting 10 minutes, and that's it.
Okay.
And I was saying to her, okay,
yeah,
10 minutes. And when because the amount of preparation she'd put into this day, it was like a regular big whoop-de-doo wedding.
Yeah.
10 minutes.
But can you do it all in 10 minutes?
I can, but you know what? By the end of it, she said, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. She was loving it.
Yeah.
Because it's literally, the ceremony is all about them.
Yeah. Was she saying 10 minutes because she was thinking of her dad? Was it?
No, she was saying 10 minutes because I've done it before. She was doing it to keep her mum and dad happy. That's great. She was saying, no, but we did it in 10 minutes, and by the end of it, she was saying, oh, is that it? Oh.
Okay.
Because, in as much as a lot of people like to talk about themselves, they actually don't get an opportunity many times in their lives for the focus just to be on them,
right,
and each other, and have the crack with it.
Yeah.
And she was saying, oh, is that it? Is that it?
Yeah.
So, but usually it would be maybe 35, 40 minutes. 45 absolute max.
Yeah.
It's not that long.
So that's good. It's for anyone kind of listening today, and I know there'll be loads because they all want to know how this works.
Yeah.
I have so many more questions for you. So 45 minutes max. That's brilliant. And sometimes it's 30 minutes, isn't it?
Oh yeah. We see it depends on the couple as well, because my ceremony is written for them.
Okay.
And if they don't want, say, for example, readers.
Yes.
Now, if you have, you can have, a family friend or a family or a friend reading.
Yes.
Now, it doesn't have to be a holy reading or a Bible reading.
Yeah.
It can be a poem.
Yes.
It can be an excerpt from a favourite book, from a favourite movie. It can even just be them talking about how they feel about the two of you getting married.
Brilliant.
It does.
It's completely personal.
Completely personal.
Okay. I have a question. I think it's a rude word.
Yeah.
What are enhancements? Do I need to go to like another country for something like that?
You want to Turkey via your enhancements. An enhancement is, you've seen hand fasting where the couples hold hands and they're
so
bound.
That's an enhancement.
That's an enhancement.
Okay.
The lighting of the candles, that's an enhancement.
Right.
The sand ceremony, which is absolutely gorgeous.
Love it.
And it's really lovely when you've little children involved.
I love it. My son did that in June, and it's like they had only had a tiny little baby Mia. And they have Aaron.
Are you a nana?
I'm a nana. I have 4 grandchildren. Did you know that?
Get away.
I do. I have 4 grandchildren.
Well,
I have Aaron, who's nearly 12. I have Sophia, who's nearly 3. I have Mia, who was born in May. And I have Ella, who was born in August. So we have 4 babies away.
Wow.
We have Mia there this weekend, so I'm very excited about that. So yes, so Dean and Alison got married in June, and they had Aaron. And they had Mia, who was only a few weeks old, and they had the sand. And what I love about the sand is that when you pour it into the glass jar, it just makes this design, and it can never be changed.
It can never be separated. The colours can never be separated, and sometimes the colours make a different. The colours make a different colour.
Yeah, I've goosebumps thinking of that now.
Oh,
it's lovely.
Very precious.
Yeah,
and the little glass receptacle that you have, that can be, your names on it.
Yes,
and the date.
And do they get that?
Yeah,
and give it to you.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
So that's an enhancement. Do you know what else?
Or I can get it, but I'm saying they keep it.
Oh, they keep it.
Yeah, I can get it.
Oh, you can provide those.
Yeah,
amazing.
Well, now I order them from a company.
Yes. Yeah. And then tell me. So another thing I love, because I love the photographs that I can get from this, when the wedding rings are, given to the congregation.
Yeah.
Is that called the congregation? No, the guests.
Yes.
Stop it, Jenny. Okay, so when the wedding rings are given to the guests and everybody gives it a little wish. Oh, I love it, and I focus in on the hands and I love it because everybody has held your wedding rings. I think that's very special.
I think it is too. Now that wasn't a runner, of course, in the COVID days.
Oh God,
that's only actually.
We're not talking about COVID. That's okay.
But
of course,
is what I'm saying.
I'm so delighted that's back.
Yeah,
that's
it's
so
very
special.
Cute. It's very cute.
And then the wine. You know the way they put the wine in the box. Tell us about that.
I love that. My niece did that last year. Yeah, you get a favourite bottle of wine. It doesn't have to be, Dom Perignon.
Yeah,
it can be anything.
Yeah,
and you put it in this gorgeous box, which all off license sell.
Yes,
and you can write a letter to each other.
I love it.
I know. And nobody else is going to read it.
Yeah.
Only your partner.
Right.
So you write a letter and you put the two letters in the box.
Yeah.
And on the day, you hammer it shut. And you can take it out in 10 years, in your first anniversary, 10 years anniversary, whatever you want. You take it out and you read the letters and you drink the wine.
Oh,
isn't that so cute?
And you know what one celebrant said? They were talking about what they were about to do, and they were explaining to the guests. Yeah. There's a bottle of wine here. They've written a letter,
and a dirty big hammer.
They have and nails, and they haven't read each other's letters, so they're going to put them in, and they still haven't read them. And he talked about if they ever had a row where they just felt, God, why are we together? That they'll open that, and I thought that was lovely.
It really
wasn't that lovely?
Yeah.
Not that that's going to happen.
No,
but,
of course.
But I thought that was a lovely idea.
Realistically, you're standing there with your partner whom you adore. There's a lot of pressure in getting married and making all sorts of decisions, and you've probably pulled the head off each other for beforehand.
Of course you did.
And you're looking at each other. You're looking at each other, and you're thinking, gosh, is this it now for the rest of my life?
Yeah.
And I think that you should take out something like that. What I do as well, it's a flower ceremony, and sometimes the mums or whoever, somebody special in the congregation, can come and give each of you a flower.
Right.
It doesn't have to be a rose. It's called a rose ceremony, but it doesn't have to be a rose. It can be whatever favourite flower you have, and you give the bride and groom, or the groom and the groom, or the bride and bride, these flowers. And so that flower is significant to your union. And if you have an absolute humdinger, a wall shaker of a row, and you don't know how to say, I'm sorry, you were right.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. You can either get a card with that flower on it, or draw that flower, or get that flower and just put it there.
Yeah. So if you're stubborn and you can't say sorry, you just No, I just say sorry. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
But okay. But if you are stubborn, you can use that.
Or even just, or I'm thinking about you, or that's your little special thing.
Okay. That's a lovely idea. I've never seen that done. Yeah. That's gorgeous. Okay. Loads of questions.
Make that up?
Yeah, I think you did.
I'm so clever.
Okay. Divorced couples who are getting married again, what do they need to do?
Okay. That's all on the HSE website as well.
Okay.
If you're divorced, you have to prove you're divorced.
Right.
And that's it, really.
Yes.
You just have to prove you're divorced. You're free to marry.
And
that's in the wedding ceremony. There is your declarations.
Yes.
And your declarations are actually the most important thing. That and signing your legal document.
Yes.
The famous green folder.
I could write a book on the green folder. Go missing.
Go missing.
I put it in the front of my camera bag and just keep it safe. I've seen it on hedges.
Yeah.
I've seen it on, listen, they leave it everywhere.
Yeah.
And
I take that. I usually say, look at, and the bride is there going, and I say, I'm taking your green folder. And I could be saying, I'm going to shoot you in the back of your head when you turn around. And she's there going, yeah, okay. She doesn't care. So I'm saying, I have your green folder. So, and then I would post off the business and I send them, I register posters, send them off their little receipt just to remind them.
So you look after that?
I do.
You're a legend.
Listen.
Oh, listen, everyone needs you.
I know, yeah.
Okay. What time can the ceremonies start? Is there a particular time?
No, there really isn't.
Is it up to the hotel or wedding venue?
It's up to them, yeah.
Or it's up to them?
Yeah. Or the venue, I suppose, yeah.
I suppose when I see ceremonies happening at 3 p.m. in November, December, I'm like, because of the light.
Of the light.
Later on.
Well, I would, like, if they do that, if they're saying the wedding's at 3 o'clock, to say, well, does it have to be at 3 o'clock?
Well, you see, I understand why sometimes it's at 3, because if it's, the likes of, say, McCarthy's Village, they've had a wedding the day before, so it has to be 3.
Yeah.
I just prefer if you did it somewhere else, we could get there a little bit earlier. But look, so they can happen though at any time.
Anytime. Well, but it doesn't affect me. I'm told.
Okay.
I just turn up.
And they can have their own music, whatever music they want.
Oh, yeah.
And how many people can they have reading? We just talked about that.
I would say you can 1 or like 3, maybe 4 would be max, really.
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you have to provide your own equipment, like the PA system, or is it always there?
I do have a PA system.
Right.
But mostly I find that yes, 9 times out of 10 you don't really need it.
Yes. Okay.
You don't be roaring at people.
Right.
But the other thing about that is when you have a microphone, you can
your hand.
Well, I would have a Madonna.
Oh, look at you with your little, what are they called?
The
headpiece.
Yeah.
A headpiece.
Headpiece.
I know. I'm not able.
I know. Listen, have it all, Jen. Have it all. But I would have a headpiece.
Yes.
And you can talk softly and, make, it can be quite intimate when you're speaking softly.
Yes.
Whereas if you don't have a microphone, you're kind of obviously a bit louder.
Yes.
But I like when say the couple, they're looking into each other's eyes, they have each other's by the hand and they are repeating after me, say their wedding vows, for example. The congregation don't want to hear me say,
Yes.
So, usually I would say it very low. I turn off my microphone.
Yeah.
And if I have a handheld, I put it to their mouth. So
yes.
Nobody wants to hear me say their vows. They want them to say their vows. So sometimes it can be handy to have a microphone, even just for that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the times the hotels will have them, or if you don't have them, they'll get them for you.
Okay.
McCarthy, for example, always have one.
Right.
It's great. But when there isn't that many guests, sometimes you don't really need it.
Okay.
And I have a big loud gob on me anyway. So,
how many weddings can you take on a day?
Oh, I don't do any more than one.
You'll only do one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
No, I can't imagine.
Booting from one to the other.
No.
You'd be in a mess.
Yeah.
And say you had a puncture. Oh, no. Oh my God. No,
yes.
I only do one.
And how long? So say, for example, they're getting married at 1 o'clock. What time do you arrive?
About 11:45. Yeah, I know. But
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here.
But you know what? I'm that terrified of something, a puncture, anything.
Listen, you're speaking to the converted. Yeah.
Yes. I'm that paranoid about that.
Yes.
And I wouldn't normally be a punctual person in my everyday life.
Yeah.
Like this, the right time and this Lorraine's time.
Yeah.
And anybody will tell you that knows me.
Yes.
I'm crap at it. But when it comes to weddings, I am absolutely paranoid that something, you have to have that 45-minute grace. And you don't want to be booted in the door.
Have you ever been late?
Thank God, no.
Right.
No, I haven't.
I did have one particular person who was late. Twice. Not the same person. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. I know. But it wasn't their fault. They thought it was at a different time. But it was fine. And thankfully, I won't even go into it. But thankfully it was all fine and it worked out very well.
Yeah. You see, I have such a woeful sense of direction. Can you imagine me before Google Maps? I just drove around constantly lost. Constantly in a state of...
Can I tell you something funny? Before Google Maps, I said, I'm never using that. Oh God, I'd never use that. I need blonde directions. And I can say that because I'm blonde. I need to know, turn left at the Spar, take the second right. They're the directions I mean, I need to know every tree on the road nearest to your house. Otherwise, I will not find you.
Yeah.
Martin, my husband, will vouch for that. I have been to every county, up every road, down every laneway in Ireland. I have been to the Lyrath, I don't know how many times. I'm only able to get myself there now. Actually, I'm not. I know when I take the exit where I'm going, but I still have to put Google Maps on. But I need Google Maps in my life.
Oh yeah, so do I. Absolutely. I don't know what I did with. Well, I do know what I did. I got lost without. But take a left. No, Lorraine, the other left.
Oh, I know.
As I turned right.
Yeah.
Actually, I was late once. I got lost. There was a couple getting married in the Dublin Mountains.
Oh, in the Dublin Mountains.
In the Dublin Mountains.
Like, sorry, in a place, in a house, in a church? No, not
in the
church,
forest. In the forest.
Okay.
Yeah. They had their ceremony there because you actually can't get legally married in somewhere like that.
That's another question. Yes.
But yes, I got lost. And in the Dublin Mountains, there's no cell service. There's no cell service.
But how on earth are you going to find them in the mountain?
I was...
Lads, if you get married in the mountain, you need to draw a map. Okay?
Yeah, absolutely. a big... Now, it was like 10 minutes, but the 10 minutes that I was late, it made a difference in the weather was coming in and the wind. Yeah, it was in December. It was a beautiful wedding and the bride and groom are just precious. But I was late for that. I got brutally lost.
So that's the question we'll go back to here now, right?
Yeah.
Where can you not get legally married?
Right. Rule of thumb.
Does it have to have a roof on it? Is that the rule?
It has to have, I think, is it 3 walls or something like that? Anyway,
see, you need to tell me. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, just hold on till I just Google that. No, it has to have a postal
address
code,
like an air code.
Postcode.
Air
code.
Yeah. Okay.
Like that couple that I married up in the Dublin Mountains, we literally did a ceremony. It was her and him and me and his dad and a photographer.
Okay.
It was absolutely precious.
Yes.
Beautiful wedding.
Okay.
Really lovely.
Okay.
And then we went to a place in town and they had another little ceremony there.
Right.
And they signed the documents there because when the HSE or when you're filling it in, they will send notification to the venue and to me. So there has to be it has to be open to the public.
Right.
It can't be somewhere that you have to pay into. Because
why?
Well, no.
Why?
Because if somebody wanted to object,
right,
they have to be able to enter that premises
right
freely.
Okay.
To object. Now,
does anyone ever object?
Do you know what? Just for the drama of it, I'd love if somebody went and burst open the doors and saying, "I object, it should have been me." Never. No.
You'd love that to happen, would you?
Just to see what happens.
You're mad.
Yeah. Just to see what happens. Oh no, actually I'm saying that. No, I wouldn't want that.
Can I ask you this? It's never happened to me, thank God. Has anyone ever not shown up, bride or groom?
No.
Okay.
No.
Right.
I think Hollywood has a lot to answer for.
Yeah.
We do expect these things.
Yeah. I know. No, because it has happened. I've heard it happen to other people.
It's never happened to you either.
Oh, no, it's never happened to me on the day. But I have a few little stories. I have one little story where I met my couple the week before the wedding. He was very reluctant to come in. I used to always do my meetings in my studio where I sit down. Anyone who's gotten married with me knows what I'm like. I'm anal about the entire day. I go through every single solitary thing that's going to happen. Photographs are a 10-minute conversation.
Yeah.
Everything else on the day is very
preparation,
important.
Isn't it?
It's all preparation. And I obviously want to get beautiful photos, but I want to get them into their drinks receptions so they'll have time. So I definitely want to speak to the two of them. So they're both listening.
Yeah.
And,
And this is important.
And this is important because I also give them homework. They have to go off and tell everybody where to be, what time, all of that,
right.
you know. So it's very, very organised just so that they can have a really nice, seamless day. Anyway, this particular couple, she was all on for coming in. I just couldn't really get him. So eventually I agreed to meet them at my studio on a Sunday.
Oh.
Yeah, doesn't matter. I just needed to see them. And he just wasn't. He was at the meeting, but he wasn't at the meeting. He was on his phone.
Oh,
and on Tuesday or Wednesday, they went to get married the following Saturday, Tuesday or Wednesday, I get a call off the bride-to-be sister. And she said, just to let you know, the wedding is not going ahead. And you know something? I just wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
I said, right, okay.
Yeah, the writing was on the wall,
It's definitely not happening. Now, when I got off the phone, just for my own sake, because I'm just ridiculous about these things, especially even about being late, I'm always there like an hour beforehand as well, outside the bride's house, having a sausage roll or a cup of coffee or whatever. I'm here. And I rang the venue and the venue said, no, it's not going ahead. Yeah, so that didn't happen. And it was him. He didn't want to go ahead. Anyway, she's after meeting somebody and they have a couple of kids now and she's very, very happy. But that happened just before the wedding. It's never happened on the day.
Though, because it's such the amount of preparation. You know,
can you imagine? You know, but look, that's one thing that happened. I've had a few couples split up straight after the wedding. I had one couple split up on their honeymoon and came home and split. You know, so
how long were they together beforehand?
I'm not sure, actually. I'm not sure. Probably a few years, probably about 4 or 5 years. But, he's gone off and he's after marrying somebody else. And I did a second wedding. Wow. And he's very happy. So, so there's lots of little stories like that. But thankfully, most people stay together.
Yeah. But I think sometimes you get on that, like couples get on the wedding train and can't get off it.
Yeah.
And they have so many people around. I don't want to let my mum down. I don't want to let my bridesmaids.
Yes.
And everybody's so excited that actually, how am I going to tell them I don't want to do this?
I know.
That's awful.
Isn't it?
Because at the end of the day, you two are the two that are left to pick up the pieces at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think anybody who splits after, say, a honeymoon or something like that, are really brave.
Yeah.
Or splits up just before the wedding.
Yeah.
They're incredibly brave.
Well, I think they're braver if they split up beforehand.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Honeymoon and spend a bleeding fortune.
Well, that's true.
On a wedding.
That's true. But I think they're brave to admit that.
Yes.
Okay,
definitely. Yeah, that didn't work.
That didn't work.
So I'm like, do I colour correct the photos? Do you want to see them? Do you want anything?
Yeah.
I've been paid.
Yeah.
So
and
obviously.
what did you do? What did they do with their photographs?
Well, I did colour correct them and I did put them online for them and I did send them the link because I just sort of felt I've been paid to do this.
Yeah.
So, and there might be individual little families, who were at the wedding. So I'd always kind of photograph a brother with his wife and their children. I do a little separate photo. So they might want those. So look, whether they ever looked or not, I don't know. But these things do happen,
Yeah, they do.
and but thankfully not too often.
Yeah.
So have you any tips for couples getting married, Lorraine? Any tips to give them at all? Other than be sure about these things.
Yeah, be sure about these things indeed. I will say that when you're booking your venue, that is the most important date, really, because then everything else can come around. Because I've gotten phone calls from couples saying, "Are you available to marry me in July?" Yeah. What date? Yeah, well, I don't have a date yet, but would you?
I don't have a fella yet either.
I have we wedding dress in the boot of the car. I'm ready to go, lads. But to book your venue first.
Yes.
Absolutely, first and foremost, book your venue first and then book me.
Yes, book you.
And only me. Book me. And then book her.
And then book me.
And because with the HSE, you have 12 months from the date of your getting married to register your wedding, your intent to marry.
Right.
So you can do that 12 months beforehand and up until 3 months beforehand.
So that's very important.
It is important.
Up to 3 months beforehand. Yeah. Any later than that, it won't happen.
There are, of course, extenuating circumstances that they do. And they, like the HSE, they want you to get married. They want to help you. And they are actually lovely. And, they're not kind of these faceless people. They do want to help.
Yes.
They're just hard to get hold of sometimes.
Yeah.
So 3 months beforehand and up to a year. So I suggest to give yourself plenty of time in order to do that. Now, if it's you decide that you're getting married in 6 months' time, that's grand. You can still do it.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, give yourself plenty of time.
Sure.
Particularly if you weren't born here.
Yes.
You know, and there's an awful lot of gorgeous people living here that weren't born here. So they have to prove that they were never married before.
Go away.
Yeah. They or not that they were never married before,
I suppose
that they're
because,
free to be married.
Of course, because they could have been married in...
They could have been married. And if they have been married in another country, that's fine. Just prove you're divorced.
Right.
You know.
Okay.
So not that you've never married before, is that you're free to be married.
That you're free
and
to be married.
And that's the bottom. That's about the declaration.
Because I'd say you do get people trying to get married twice.
Well,
not many now. I'm not talking about everyone, but you just don't know.
You don't.
Yeah.
And so you have to prove that you're free to be married.
Sure.
And sometimes, if you're dealing with a different country, that could take a while.
Yeah.
And the other thing I'll say to you is, if you are sending off anything to anywhere, register it by post.
Right.
Register it.
Okay.
Don't just bang it in the post.
Register it.
Because they could say, I didn't get it.
I didn't
Yeah,
get
you
it.
did.
Yes.
I have it here.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, sometimes you might have to send it twice.
Right.
So copy and register everything
Right.
that you're sending.
Okay.
So that's your 12 months out, or you're up to 3 months. So you get your venue, you book your celebrant. And the reason why I'm saying book your celebrant is because you have that 12 months, you know, you're giving everybody plenty of time.
Absolutely.
Because you have to have your celebrant's name as well.
Yes.
Now, if you decide, if you change your celebrant as well, that doesn't matter. It can be changed on the forms.
Okay.
You know, so.
Okay.
But it's just a good idea. It's like booking your photographer.
Absolutely.
You want to give them plenty of time.
Yes. And especially if you want to get somebody that you really want, and
You
they
really
do
want.
book out
Yeah.
in advance.
Yeah, they do. Yeah. But having said that, if you want to do it short term as well, you can do it.
Yes.
You're just leaving yourself not enough choice, not as much choice.
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So my final question is...
Oh, are we over?
Oh, we're over. But I just want you to tell everybody, how can they get in touch with you if they want to book you?
Well, I have a website,
Okay.
Lorraine Walker Celebrant. I have an Instagram at
Right.
Lorraine Walker Celebrant.
Excellent.
And that's about it.
Get in
Facebook.
touch. Get in touch.
Get in touch.
What's your Facebook?
Lorraine Walker Celebrant. Yeah.
So just get in touch, Lorraine. Thank you.
And you know
so
what? And
much.
the other thing is, Jenny, just before you before we stop, if anybody has any questions,
Yes, that's important as well. Yeah.
you know, send me an email, send me a text,
Yes.
send me a WhatsApp, send me a pigeon. I will answer. That doesn't mean
Pigeon.
that doesn't mean that you have to book me.
Yes.
Ask me a question. If I don't know the answer, I'll find out for you.
Yeah. Perfect.
You know, and then you can book me.
and then you can book
There
me. Lorraine, thank you so much. God,
you
that was
so
a bit
much.
of crack, wasn't it?
I could stay here for
that's
the
been
rest of the
40
day.
minutes or so.
for
Imagine
heaven's
when
sakes.
find the blink of an eye.
It really did.
Aw.
Thanks. I don't feel we covered. Did we cover everything?
We covered everything. I have it all on my list.
Brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Not at all.